It took all of, what, 2-3 weeks for the indictment against James Comey to go completely up water? The court issues a scathing ruling today in the Comey case. Judge William Fitzpatrick notes, among other things, that Lindsay Halligan from the DOJ made 2 false statements of the law when responding to questions by grand jurors. Just same old, same old. Everyone working for the DOJ now is a complete clown. They violate the law as easily as they breathe, so anytime they try to make good on their threats and actually enter the court system, they get shafted. The court has identified 2 statements by the prosecutor to the grand jurors that on their face appear to be fundamental misstatements of the law that could compromise the integrity of the grand jury process. Both statements by the prosecutor are in response to questions by grand jurors and are directly related to communications involving Mr. Comey. Firstly, after having advised the grand jurors that the prosecutor was their legal advisor, the prosecutor stated, blank. The prosecutor's statement that blank is a fundamental and highly prejudicial misstatement of the law that suggests to the grand jury that Mr. Comey does not have a Fifth Amendment right not to testify at trial. What the f did he say? Did he say, if Mr. Comey pleads the Fifth, that means he's guilty? Now remember, grand jurors, anyone who pleads the Fifth is basically implying that they're guilty. I think that's what he said. I swear they had to lie to get the indictment. This isn't even about getting the indictment. This is just an insane thing to say. That's really, really, really bad. I can't imagine what else he said given this context. The prosecutor's statement ignores the foundational rule of law that if Mr. Comey exercised his right not to testify, the jury could draw no negative inference from the decision. The prosecutor's statement that blank may have reasonably set an expectation in the minds of the grand jurors that rather than the government bear the burden to prove Mr. Comey's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt at trial, the burden shifts to Mr. Comey to explain away the government's evidence. Jesus Christ. My love, stop distracting me. Funny legal shenanigans are afoot. Hush. Process clause requires the government to prove a defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. In addition, the statement by the prosecutor was made in response to challenging questions from grand jurors, the context of which suggests the grand jurors may have reasonably understood the prosecutor to mean that if she could not satisfactorily answer their questions, then Mr. Comey would blank answer these questions at trial. Second, the prosecutor told the grand jury that there was blank. That statement clearly suggested to the grand jury that they did not have to rely only on the record before them to determine probable cause, but could be assured the government had more evidence, perhaps better evidence, that would be presented at trial. What? Are you kidding me? The prosecutor was like, listen, you should indict, okay? Even if this evidence isn't compelling enough, don't you worry, we'll probably have even better stuff ready for you when it goes to trial. It's insane. Like, these are statements so egregious that I don't even think they would be made by like a TV prosecutor, you know? I don't even think these would be made by a non-lawyer who they dressed up as a prosecutor. You know what I mean? Like, it's that insane. It's that insane. It's like, yeah, like a bad TV show, like a really dumb, like an Ace Attorney game where in the opening you're dealing with a really dumb prosecutor who's replacing the guy with the poofy neck scarf and the red suit, you know? So the Ace Attorney guy is like, you idiot, that's not how this works at all. And then like he gets ousted after the first trial and then the red guy comes back. Team Rocket versus Ace Attorney. It isn't just that they lied, but they provided the privileged information that they were going to. So the prosecutor was just straight up refusing to provide this information. The judge made the prosecution turn all their documents to the defense team, which they should anyway. You know, discovery. It's so egregious, maybe they did it on purpose. No, they don't benefit from this in any way, buddy. It's a level of incompetence that it's difficult to wrap your head around. I genuinely think that if I woke up, had no idea where I was, somebody stuffed me in a suit and told me to go be a DOJ prosecutor, that I would not make mistakes like this. The idea, like, how f***ed in the head do you have to be when speaking to a grand jury in statements that are like legally recorded and will be reviewed by people with a lot of legal knowledge to make the claim that if Comey pleads the Fifth, that implies that he's guilty? Like to indicate you don't believe in the idea of innocent until proven guilty. Alert, federal judge orders James Comey. Defense team can have access to grand jury materials in Comey case. The record points to a disturbing pattern of profound investigative missteps that led an FBI agent and a prosecutor to potentially undermine the integrity of the grand jury proceeding. Federal judge offers 11 findings to justify giving James Comey access to grand jury materials, including, quote, facts establish a reasonable basis for the defense to challenge whether privileged information was used directly or indirectly by the government to prepare and present its grand jury presentation. Come on, Vosh, this is just conservative anti-intellectualism work. Dude, conservatives have been around for a very long time. This is not normal. The Conservative Party of the United States is not normally like this. This is insane, man. Yeah, this just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Could be this is just lawyers doing this filing without support staff, which would be disastrous. I don't think so, no. Because even a lawyer on their own with no support staff would never tell the grand jury that if Comey pleads the fifth, that implies that he's guilty. That's insane. There's no way for me to overstate the level of incompetence here. It would it would be like the judge yelling at the prosecutor for showing up without wearing any pants. Like I don't know. I don't know. Lindsay Halligan's law license is in serious jeopardy, looking to join a long list of disbarred and disciplined Trump attorneys. The nature and circumstances surrounding the disclosure of potentially privileged information establish a reasonable basis to question whether the government's conduct was willful or in reckless disregard for the rule of law. This is particularly significant because Agent 3, after having been exposed to potentially privileged information, chose to testify before the grand jury rather than separate himself from the investigation to contain any further exposure to privileged information and limit prejudice to Mr. Comey. Collectively, the facts set forth herein and the particularized findings of the court establish that, quote, grounds may exist to dismiss the indictment because of a matter that occurred before the grand jury. I mean, this is kind of what happens when you get co-opted by a bunch of neo-Nazis, anti-vax, and by extension, anti-science people. I don't even think it's that, genuinely. I just think it's the hardcore loyalists. Like, I don't even think it's a matter of politics, believe it or not. I really, truly think it's because Trump is so paranoid about, like, everyone around them has to be a hardcore loyalist, no more betrayal from within, that you get rid of any competence standard. It also makes me wonder what kind of conversations they're having internally. It reminds me a little bit of, like, you know when you see the Department of Homeland Security tweet, and it's very obvious that the tweet was made by a something like 30-something neo-Nazi, and you're thinking, what environment is this person in where they think this is the winning message with the American people? Like, this is playing well to people, you know? They tweet something that gets 20,000 likes, 10,000 comments. It's cringe as everyone's dogging on it. And you have to wonder, what environment are they in? What is the culture of the office they work from like, where they can post that and think, yeah, this will land, you know? Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Jesus. Chad needs to remember all the competent far-right Federalist Society people got purged for trying to do things the way that would actually have worked. Yeah, that's true. The Federalist Society used to be a lot more scary. They were full of like intelligent fascists who understood that the legal system could be slowly corrupted, but they kind of gave way to the hyper-populist hype train and Trumpism, and now they don't really have a way out or forward without just, you know. My dad is a lawyer, and he literally choked on his coffee when I told him about this, like he couldn't breathe for a solid minute. I've never seen that man have this much of a reaction. This is maybe the most shocking case of prosecutorial misconduct that I've ever heard of in my entire life. And I've read about a lot, you know. On stream, off stream, it happens a lot, you know. This is maybe the most incompetence I've ever seen. I can't think of anything else that comes close. Come on, people get wrongfully executed. This isn't that shocking. Was that a pun? Like wrongfully executed? Like the chair? Shocking? You get me? No. This is much more shocking than that, 100%. Yeah. Because if a person gets wrongfully executed, if anything, that probably means the prosecutor got what they wanted, which was a conviction, right? We're talking about incompetence. This is a shocking level of incompetence. It's not the most evil thing that a prosecutor's ever done, not even close. Might be the most incompetent one that I've heard of.